Hello and welcome back to the only show more aimless than a stormtrooper shooting range. I'm Max,
I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
and this is Force for Thought. All right, hello and welcome back to Force for Thought. Today we are discussing fan service and some of our favorite and least favorite fan service moments. We're not doing a ranking because we didn't really know how many there was going to be, and I feel like had we thought of the same ones, the rankings probably would have been similar anyways. So it's more of just a list that we're going to go through, but it's not exhaustive. So obviously, if anyone thinks of one, feel free to send it to us along social media or at Gmail. But first. Because this is a podcast that tends to get into semantics, I thought it would be appropriate to discuss first what we consider to be fan service. So I did start by pulling the Webster definition of fan service, which says that it is material included as in a book, movie, game, or performance, specifically to please fans, such as entertainingly familiar elements, such as inside jokes or callbacks aimed at fans of a series, franchise, etc. And in my opinion, I don't think that goes far enough. I think fan service needs to be gratuitous or unnecessary, because in doing some research for this episode, I was trying to look up other lists, other moments of fan service that people had, and I disagreed with a lot of them because it seemed like very necessary, like, plot points that I was like, okay, I don't think that's fan service so much as it is just like a scene that everybody really enjoys. And I also think it needs to be different than an Easter egg, right? Mm-hmm. So the example that I pulled that everyone always points out is the Razor Crest in the background of the Battle of Exegol. And it's like you have to freeze it and zoom in like 100 times just to like see its outline and stuff like that. That's not fan service. Like, those are Easter eggs. Those are, fan servicey adjacent. I get it. But if it's like a blink and you miss it type thing, I don't consider that fan service. I think fan service needs to be not necessarily on the nose, but there needs to be attention drawn to it. It needs to be something that everybody noticed, maybe not everybody appreciated, like it might be like an inside joke or something that you don't understand, but it's not like something hidden away or tucked away or anything like that.
If we're talking about the Razor Crest, what's your, because I want to get, ideally, I know we won't, but I'd like to get all the semantics out of the way in a couple of minutes of our episode. What's your stance on the Ghost in the Battle of Exegol? The Razor Crest, I agree, it's barely in it. Ghost is in focus in several shots.
But it's not the focal point of the shot. It's very adjacent, but I consider it to be the same as the Razor Crest. I think that is, and there was another example I saw online that people were pointing out where they called it the Millennium Falcon, but technically I think it's just another YT freighter on Coruscant. I think it was like in a shot of Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. It was just like one of the ships that was docked somewhere, and it's like, that's not, like, most people don't even catch that. Like, that's not, I don't know. To me, that's just like a fun Easter egg that they included.
Yeah, I think Easter,
I agree.
Sorry.
I think Webster Dictionary definition bad. Max is under. I think Razor Crest is an Easter egg. I do think that the Ghost is more fan service than Easter egg. I think it's more prevalent. That, well, I'll probably contradict times over the hour, but. Going into this episode, I think that the difference between the Razor Crest and the Ghost in the Battle of Exegol is the difference between an Easter egg and a fan service. And I don't think either's bad.
It's such a fine line.
I was gonna say, I think that the Ghost teeters the line. To me, that is still an Easter egg. Very top tier Easter egg, just below fan service, I think. Because I think a lot of the ones in the doc that you and Max both put together, I think are very fan servicey, within these moments. So I think that's a great top to bottom in my mind of what an Easter egg could be, even though it's the same scene and different.
Speaking of, I'll do a quick service for our fans who may be listening to audio only. Matthew, are you wearing a robe right now?
Yeah, I'm wearing a robe. This is the cozy episode. By the way, we forgot to mention, welcome to the cozy episode. I have a fire behind me as well. No,
I
I
tweeted.
Interesting.
I didn't know.
No.
I did not get this memo. I just noticed that you were wearing a robe.
I know.
I was wondering how long it was going to be until someone mentioned that. But it's a Browns robe. Cleveland Browns just added their 6th quarterback to their quarterback room, so that's awesome.
Yep, big surprise. I wrenched my neck swimming last week, and after going to your house, it has been significantly worse. I don't think those aren't in line with each other. I just wanted to mention to everyone else that we saw each other in person. But yeah, so
it
it's
doesn't
hurt
have
really
anything
bad.
to do with the robe either, right?
No, so today I worked from home, and so I worked from bed basically. And man, this robe feels real good on my neck. And so I was debating taking it off, but I was like, you know what? I feel like this would be a good topic of conversation on the podcast, so I decided to wear it.
In case
It's not even cold enough for a robe.
I'm with it.
Sometimes I feel like our audience doesn't see the value in watching our video on YouTube rather than just listening. It's stuff like this, listener, that you're missing out on.
Check us out on YouTube. It's really good. And speaking of, fan service, it's all subjective. And that was the last point that I wanted to make before jumping into some examples real quick. Fan service is a loaded term, but it is not necessarily, or it is not inherently good or bad. There are good examples of fan service and there are bad examples of fan service. So without further ado, let's talk about some of them. A lot of these are going to be the more recent ones, obviously, because it's kind of hard to do something fan servicey, when you're first starting out. So starting with kind of the Force Awakens, because we have multiple from the Force Awakens, when they are running through the desert trying to get onto the quad jumper, and Finn says, "What about that ship?" And Rey says, "That ship's garbage." And then they blow up the quad jumper, and then she says, "The garbage will do." And then they turn around and we see the Millennium Falcon. That, to me, is one of, I think it's probably my second most favorite moment of what I would consider to be fan service in all of Star Wars. I think that is a great moment. It is a great comedic beat. You don't see it coming. And it's not like over the top. Like they don't I don't know. I don't know. I guess it is maybe over the top, but I still really like it. I think that's one of my favorite moments, and I really wanted to talk about that one first.
I also
Sorry.
like this. I do think it qualifies as fan service, no matter how you cut it, but I think it's good. We're going to talk a lot about what is and isn't good and what bad fan service. This is a good place to start because there is such a simpler way. It wasn't going to be fan service to introduce the plot point of Rey and Finn board the Millennium Falcon. You can't deny that the way it was presented to the audience was to elicit more fan service than the script really required. And I loved it. I'm on the same exact boat as Max. Gratuitous and perfect.
I agree. It's the perfect way into that movie as well. That bridges the gap between the old and the new. Because I feel like you can be like, oh, well, thematically, or like even from the scores, I guess is the most prevalent. Like this feels like old Star Wars, in 2015. But that is the moment, right? That is the exact moment where I feel like the old and the new come together with Force Awakens. And I think that's, again, it's a perfect fan service moment, but also I think it does serve that bridge. And that gap between, clearly we're going to see Han and Chewie, which we know we were anyway, but this is how we get there. And I do love that moment too. It gave me chills, the first time you see it. And I think every time we watch that, and we've talked about this moment before a lot, but it brings me back to that moment where I'm like, little goosebumps every single time.
And I feel like it just makes more sense in this time period when they reference the ship as garbage, because obviously that was the big running joke in the original trilogy. But when it's seeing the Millennium Falcon for the first time on Tatooine in A New Hope, it just kind of fits in with the rest of the film. And you're just like, I don't know, that looks pretty sick to me. Because you don't really have I guess other than the Tantive 4, which you saw earlier in the film, you don't really have a good comparison of why is this ship a piece of junk? But when you see it next to the shiny quad jumper and then the camera pans and it's like half covered in tarps and everything, it looks like a car that's been left out for too long on cinder blocks, and it just works really well. And it's a good callback. The next callback that I wanted to mention takes place, a lot of these take place within the 5 minutes of itself. So there is kind of a lot. But it is when Rey, or Finn, actually, Luke, you can correct me on who actually said it, when they were talking about the Millennium Falcon, and they said, oh, this is the ship that made the Kessel Run in 14 parsecs. And then Han says 12. Who says it? Rey. That makes more sense that she would be the one to say that. But that's another good moment that I really like. To me, it's not too over the top. It's another kind of like just like a fun little jab at like, yeah, I get that. I know what they're talking about, you know. So I really like that moment as well.
This one gets 2 thumbs down for me. Definitely qualifies as fan service, and definitely qualifies as bad fan. Because
you don't like that?
No, because Han making a big fuss that it's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs is a line from A New Hope that he said to Obi-Wan once. It never really comes up again in the trilogy. It can be implied that he makes a big deal about it to all kinds of people, but even if he did, I think that Rey knowing about it is unlikely. And it's not quite immersion break, but it just doesn't fit as well as the Millennium Falcon being garbage, the last example. If it wasn't fan service, this dialogue is nothing. It's bad dialogue. So I think it needs to fit into the story.
You think it's a little too meta? It was only included because we as the audience know that?
Yes.
I agree, which is why I like it, because I think that is the most fan service thing you can do is it's for the fans, right? And so that's the thing, is that we've all talked about that, right? And you could talk about how that's light and not speed and yada yada. And I feel like these are all like lunchroom conversations you would have as a kid. And I think that's why sorry, just swallowed my spit. Getting too excited. I think that's like the perfect fan service moment as well, because we all talk about it, and again, that introduction to these characters within that world, you know, in 2015, I think it works. I mean, it's stupid, right? But like, I think that's like the perfect fan service moment. I think for us as the fans to be like, oh, you know, we know that moment. We've all talked about it a million times.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to actually right away, but when you said it, I got so distracted that I missed it. You said you talked about parsec as light, not speed, and I like. For a few seconds, I was thinking, is it light or is it speed?
Distance.
It's time and distance.
Han
uses it as a unit of time when it's... No, the other way. Han uses it as a unit. Yes. But then they retcon it so that it is... Sorry. Correct. I just wanted to make that clear.
They retcon it. You're not changing my mind, but I see what you're saying in that it does still have to like make sense in universe if you're going to have like dialogue or something like that being brought up. But along the same lines then, jumping over to Solo real quick, because I also really like the time when they just finished making the Kessel Run and Han brags about it on that planet. And he's like, yeah, we just made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. And then Chewie corrects him and Han says, not if you round down. I was like, oh, that's so funny. Like this whole legend of making the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs isn't even entirely accurate because he's rounding down the entire time.
That's good fans.
I think that's great fan service. I think they're both good fan service. But I see what you're saying.
Do you think you have math bias since your wife is a math teacher?
No.
I did not think you were going to think about that.
Bias in which direction? I have the opposite because I like these moments. It's a pro bias. It's a good bias. Maybe. We'll see. But going back to that Force Awakens scene, there's a couple more examples. These, I don't know. I don't care too much about, but wanted to talk about them. The first was Finn finding the training droid, the blaster ball that Luke uses in A New Hope. He just kind of picks it up, looks at it, and then tosses it away for a second. What do you think about that kind of quick moment?
Thumbs up for the listener that's not watching.
You give that one a thumbs up?
If you don't understand the reference, if it makes sense like internally to the character's story, because it's just world building, first field thing that's on this ship. It's lived in and the crap lying around. The fans know what that crap is and have our own special emotion. But so we care more. But if we didn't, it's just stuff, and I like seeing stuff in Star Wars as well.
Interesting.
I wonder if it's just a quantity thing, because all of this happened in the same scene that I'm just getting like over it. Because the next one I also want to talk about is Finn accidentally turning on the Dejarik table, and people have analyzed that and have said that it also takes off right where we last saw it in A New Hope, which canonically I don't think that would still be the same game, but it's a fun little Easter egg. But when he accidentally turns on the Dajark table, that's another moment where it's just like, oh, I know what that is. But I feel like it's not bad if it was like isolated, but I feel like maybe it's just because it was back to back to back to back that these last two, I was kind of like, okay, all right, I get it.
It's very heavy. It's very heavy-handed, but I think, right? Like it's.
Yeah, nope, no pun intended.
Yeah, it's very heavy-handed.
That's how he turns it on.
I feel like the table works out great because, like you said, I'm sure it is the same scene from when we last saw it as well. Because I feel like realistically, it's probably their unused footage. I would imagine from like Phil Tippett potentially even or something. And I feel like they went full into it. That stuff makes sense. Again, like Luke said, it feels lived in and everything as well. It makes a lot of sense, I guess, that those moments are in there, but it does become, I think a lot of people like say, right, like it's like, okay, Force Awakens is just kind of like A New Hope, and I think these moments don't help our case to be like, well, it is different. But the fact that they reference a lot of A New Hope specifically is it's in there.
I see what you mean, Max, about it being many of basically the same exact kind of fan service, same manner, at the same time, and if it feels whatever overwhelming or like too much to you, I will not refute that, but it doesn't for me. It just works. Maybe just because that scene in that sequence is awesome. That's when BB-8 gives the thumbs up and everything that happens, Kanja Club and the Rathtars and Han getting on the Falcon for the first time. Like those 15 minutes of The Force Awakens are flawless in my mind. That fact.
They're fun. Having said, this is also like, if I say anything negative, this is me nitpicking because none of these actually have bothered me so far. These are all very fun.
The 14v12 has bothered me.
Well, what about? I'm very excited for this next one. Spoiler alert: this next one is my favorite fan service.
That's what I was gonna say.
Star Wars.
I was wondering.
This one knocked my socks off when I first heard it, but it is from the beginning of an episode of Ahsoka, when Ahsoka is in the ship with Hu Yang, and they're talking about telling stories and how Hu Yang used to tell these stories back, teaching younglings at the temple, and she was like, oh, tell me one of these stories again. And he starts off by saying, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
There were stories about Peridia, the galaxy far, far away that they were going to.
It was so perfect. It works on so many levels. That is the best use of fan service because it does. I guess it's kind of the opposite, Luke, of what you were saying with the 14v12, how you're like absent the fan service aspect. Like that dialogue doesn't make any sense like in universe. Whereas this, it just made too much sense. I was like, of course fairy tales in Star Wars would start with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It knocked my socks off when the first time I heard that.
Yeah, I haven't gone through the list so listly yet, the doc that we so I can't say with absolute certainty that this is my favorite instance of fan service, but you giving it that praise already makes me feel like it will be, because yes, everything, it's so unbelievably well in universe, out of universe. It's the perfect fan service. Of course it was Dave. That man cares so much about the fans. I wouldn't have it be anyone else.
That's a big part of it. Fan service has to come from the fans because it has to feel authentic, right? And maybe that's part of my problem with the Finn finding the blaster ball and turning on the Dajark table. To me, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, like we get it, Whereas this, I don't know. I hate just constantly circle jerking Dave Filoni and claiming that everything he does feels like it's more loved than everything else. But it was a huge swing, right? Because it's like you're going to take that iconic line that we see at the beginning of every single Star Wars movie that's been around since 1977, and you're going to like have somebody say it out loud in Star Wars. It is so easy to have that be cheesy, on the nose, and everyone hate it and grumble and just be like, oh my gosh, they're jumping the shark. But it just fits so well. And I don't see nearly enough people talking about that line specifically, but I remember after the episode came out, there was only positive reviews of, them saying that in universe. So I was happy about that.
Do you guys know where Jump the Shark came from? Very interested if this is. Do you guys know or not?
Happy Days?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Happy Days, sure. Yeah. we know a thing or two.
I thought this moment was okay. I don't love this moment. I think that everything you just said, I think it's one of those things where things like that could be kept off the table. Not everything needs to be used, and I think it's one of them. Personally, I'm okay with not. I think, like you said, it's not talked about enough. And I think it's one of those things because those words are sacred and for the beginning of trilogies. And for me personally, not trying to just deter you guys, but the Millennium Falcon moment, absolutely the best moment of fan service. This, thought it was okay. I try not to think about it too much, to be honest.
Despite profoundly, I don't fault you. I frequently, Matt, I get stuck in my head that you're a crotchety old man. Old, good, yada yada. We've had several debates about many different things, and this brushes right up against it. But this one, while I don't agree, I completely understand your point.
What do you mean, Luke? Me wearing everyone's grandpa's glasses and wearing a robe while talking to you?
You do wear old man glasses. 30. You pointed out. Like right, the perfect blend of Tony Stark and.
Thank you. I have other ones.
Well,
do you? Maybe that's why I've never.
How about?
Yeah, usually I wear my black ones.
Matthew.
Anyway, sorry. Go on. Yeah.
How do you feel about the next one? Because the other one I'm also very pro and high on, but it is it comes from the ending of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the finale, when he is asked if he wants to meet Luke Skywalker for the first time, and he walks up to him and he says, "Hello there."
Of course.
How do you feel about that line?
I love that line personally, and I also feel like that lays into the Parsec line too. Us as the fans have made that so memeable in the real world that it's great. That's what he says at the end of it. So that's why I also like the Parsec line, same reason. But this is the ultimate version of that, right? That is, like, of course he would say that. Like, that makes a lot of sense for Obi-Wan in universe would say that. So that's, I guess, the differentiating factor there is that is something he said before, and this is something he said again. And I love that moment. It's funny. It's a nice moment of levity after this, like, really long and, scary journey. What do you guys think?
I agree. It's a nice moment of levity after I don't agree with your comparison to the Parsec thing. I think the Parsec thing is including information that either wouldn't be available to Rey, or if it was, not so loosely that she would get it wrong. But this one, at worst, it's just a guy saying hello there. It's relatively common enough thing to say when you meet someone. It was obviously fan service because he has said it twice before, but not even that he said it twice before, because those lines are not that, like, famous. They're just heavily memed for whatever reason. That was it's just a massive meme. And so, yeah, I think they include very, especially in a show like Obi-Wan Kenobi, where there's very few opportunities to take a judge moment like that, because the show is so heavy the whole time. They found the perfect time, and love it.
A lot of dialogue like this, I agree with what you were saying, Matt, because it's easy to have somebody working on these shows who's just like, a little too online and is just like, oh, hello, there's a big meme. We should just like insert this the first opportunity that we can, and it's like, oh, Obi-Wan sees Darth Vader for the first time and he says hello there. But it's like, it doesn't work there. This works. This like I think Luke, you said, like, that's the only thing he's going to say. Like, it just makes sense. Like, yes, it is absolutely fan service, but it's also like a necessary and very, like, I don't want to say obvious, but a natural, appropriate, natural line of dialogue that it doesn't jump out at you. You're not like, after overanalyzing it, you're not like, well, why did he say that though? Like maybe you are with the 14 parsecs thing. But yeah, I give it 2 thumbs up. I think that is fantastic fan service.
Before we move on from this one, I don't think that's further on your list because I'm certain it would be next if it was. But what about "Hello There" in Revenge of the Sith? Second time he said it.
I don't think that was even on George Lucas's mind.
It was somewhere on his mind.
No, I don't think
so.
anyone recognized that Obi-Wan Kenobi says hello there to Luke Skywalker in A New Hope, and that's like his first line in all of A New Hope or whatever. I think it became popular after that, and people just kind of made that connection. I don't think George Lucas was saying, all right, what's this character going to say? Well, what's something that he said before? Like, I think George Lucas is a simple man. I think he was like, okay, and then he's just going to confront Grievous. How is he going to start off? And he's just going to say, hello there. Because it's silly. And that's why it became a meme, is because of Revenge, not because of A New Hope, obviously. It's because, like, that's a ridiculous thing to say in this situation. Like, you're going
Yes,
to
it was not appropriate for that
1v1,000 Grievous and all of these Magna Guards and all of these battle droids, and you're just, like, coming in cocky as hell. So... No, I don't think "Hello There" in Revenge of the Sith is fan service at all.
At all.
I think
Do you think it's a callback or even an Easter egg? I mean,
You see, this is where it gets murky because I think it's unintentional.
there's no
So
way
it's
it was
like,
unintentional.
yes.
I don't believe that at all.
I think it's unintentional. Can an Easter egg be unintentional?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, then you get into the high school literature classes where teachers find 1,000 Easter eggs that the authors don't give a shit about and never thought of because they're trying to egg for everything that comes out of it. I don't think egg's the right.
Catcher in the Rye is not that deep.
But yes, I think you can make
Then that's what I would categorize it as.
But I don't think this is one of them.
So you think George Lucas did that as an intentional callback to A New Hope?
Yes, I don't think.
I hope that's true. Has no one asked him that? I'm sure you can Google that and find out. I mean...
No, because it sounds so stupid to ask George Lucas. Like, when you wrote Obi-Wan Kenobi saying hello there the second time, did you know that he said it the first time? Like, yeah, he fucking wrote it the first time, too. Of course he knew.
I don't think he does
When
know
you
everything
make
he
a
writes.
movie-
I think
I
he's gotten
agree.
himself into a lot of trouble
No, if you
by
write
not
a
knowing.
movie, you know damn well every piece of dialogue that the characters say. If you direct a movie, you know damn well every piece of dialogue that the characters say. And if you edit a movie, you will know every single piece of dialogue. There is no chance he didn't remember or didn't know that was a callback.
You pose an interesting question
We
there.
disagree. Matthew, do you have any strong opinions on this?
I would say ultimately I agree with Luke, but I think the fact that George Lucas, did what he wanted and had a lot of yes men and had a lot of people around him for the prequels, I don't know if that is true. I think you lose your sight after a bit of time when you're going through. Having said that, someone had to have told them along the way. Again, I bring up Doug Chang a lot because he's always around. And I like Doug Chang, even though he does seem like a kiss ass a little bit. But, like, he definitely had to have told George Lucas that as well, I think.
These are just the views of Matt Lewis, not Force for Thought podcast. I like Doug Chang.
So do I. I like Doug Chang as well. Speaking of, we need to revisit speaking of the views of this podcast, we need to revisit our movie list because Max has revealed to me his top 10 or his top movies, and Last Jedi is not in there. And other Star Wars movies are, which means that list is wrong.
It was just in a different order.
Yes, which means that doesn't make any sense that our list would be the same now. Anyway,
Just because it's constantly changing. We can revisit it again. We can do that every single year, and every single year my list will be different because a lot of it depends on which I have seen more recent than others.
Bitch, just watch them all again then.
In what order? It depends. I have a big recency bias with Star Wars. Every time I watch a Star Wars movie, I'm always like, oh man, that's more fun than I remember it being.
Anyway, sorry guys.
Within certain tiers of each other.
For the record, on my
Return of
list
the
of
Jedi
top
is still my
movies,
favorite.
Last Jedi is no.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Keeping on with Obi-Wan Kenobi, the character, not the TV show. What about Leia's "Help Me, Obi-Wan Kenobi" hologram monologue being played in The Last Jedi?
Not fan service. This is the plot of the movie. That's Luke's character.
You don't consider that fan service?
Oh, that's just Luke Skywalker's character arc. And I've been waiting to talk about this because
But they could have gotten there.
I mean, somehow, but this is the way they went, and it fits perfectly in universe. I don't consider this fan service at all, and partly because we talked about, and we'll keep talking about, I'm sure, J.J. Abrams and Dave Filoni, because they love fan service for better and worse. Jon Favreau and all the creators of The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, they all like fan service. George Lucas does not give a shit about fan service. After his movie comes out, he immediately doesn't care about fans. He's just going to start cultivating the next batch of 10-year-old when his next movie comes out. Rian Johnson, similarly...
Don't love how you phrase that.
Well, that's fine. But Rian Johnson, I'm going to phrase it even worse.
He was on the logs.
He outright doesn't like the fans. He doesn't dislike the fans, but I cannot picture a person caring less about fans than Rian Johnson. Again, for better or worse, that made half the people love the movie and half the people hate the movie. But, I mean, he's gone so far as to say in that clip when he's talking with Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill's like, oh, what the fans are going to be whiny about this. And Rian Johnson says it's not about the fans, it's about the story. And I think that mantra is very clear in the end product scene. That was not a fan service moment. That was a story moment. Very, very good story.
Not that you're deriding Rian Johnson by any means. You just said The Last Jedi is your favorite movie. I agree. I think Rian Johnson definitely cares the least about fan service. You didn't say Ron Howard, and we have a lot that we're going to talk about. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Ron Howard and Gareth Edwards.
I definitely want to throw Ron Howard up there as being big on fan service. But yes, I think that's kind of like the spectrum when you're making something like a Star Wars movie. Is you're thinking, okay, what do the fans want, and what does the story necessitate? Mm-hmm. And I think JJ was much more fan focused and Rian was much more story focused. I disagree though that this is not fan service. I think it still is fan service. I think it's fan service done well, and I think it does naturally move the plot forward. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's like obviously it's a callback, but it is gratuitous. It's not needed to get Luke Skywalker on board with training Rey. Mm-hmm. So it's like they just thought that was like the most natural way of doing it, which I think it was. But still, it's a very, famous callback. I think it's fan service. I think it's fan service done well, though.
It's interesting. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I love that moment. I mean, it just also naturally makes sense and fits in that scene, right? R2 is a little sassy bitch. I think it makes sense that he shows that scene. I love that scene. I don't know if it's necessarily fan service. Again, it fits. It's a weird line. I think it teeters. I will say also about Rian Johnson is that I think he does. For him, I think he was catering to a certain fan demographic when he's doing some fan service. Like Luke, like you said, it's about the story, not the fans. With that being said, I think he just views Star Wars like significantly different than like I do, for example, right? Or like I think you do as well. I think you like the movie a lot, obviously, as do I. But I think he likes that aspect. It's like, oh, I love that. It's like, takes influences from these westerns and it takes influences from these old like Japanese samurai films and stuff too. But that's just, I don't think the majority of the fans that watch and like these movies. But anyway, I don't know. I love that moment.
That is something that Jon Favreau said when making The Mandalorian, when he was talking to Kathleen Kennedy about the show, and he said that he wants to make something influenced by the things that influenced George Lucas. Yeah. And he said, that would make it, consistent and all of that. I kind of disagree with that philosophy, though. I think Jon Favreau is a huge Star Wars fan. I'm not saying that he's not. But I think Star Wars just needs to be made by people who are pretty heavily influenced by Star Wars. Mm-hmm. At this point, it needs to be made by the biggest fans. again, I'm circle jerking Dave Filoni, but like that's the best example, right? Like
Yeah.
he knows what he's doing, obviously, but there's no doubt in his mind, in our minds, that he loves Star Wars to his core.
Yeah.
I disagree. I'll give you another example that escaped my mind and your mind as well. But Tony Gilroy cares about fans even less than Ryan Johnson, and he made the best Star Wars content that we've ever gotten. So I like fan service, but just looking at the data, it would imply that I don't, because my favorite Star Wars stories are Tony Gilroy, Ryan Johnson, George Lucas created, and they're the ones that don't give a shit about fan service. Even though I do claim to love fan service, I clearly like it less than no fan service. I don't know. Maybe I don't even like fan service, but I sure like half these moments, so I don't know. But I disagree with what you said, that it needs to be made by fans now, because I'm sure Ryan Johnson and Tony Gilroy watched Star Wars growing up, and I'm sure they are fans, but at the very least, they don't care about fan service.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I forgot about Tony Gilroy. That really throws a wrench in a lot of my philosophies.
You forgot about Tony, our main man?
When you're talking about...
Because Tony Gilroy and Dave Filoni are the two people who've made the best Star Wars content, in my opinion, since 2015. And yeah, they are on polar opposite ends of that spectrum.
To be fair, it's not that hard of... That's not that, like, much praise, I feel like, which it should be, but it doesn't... It's not that much praise.
Yeah, be a man. At least best Star Wars content since 99. There's no way you like any of the prequel movies more than Andor or Clone Wars Season 7. I don't think you like any of the original trilogy better either. But surely you can admit on air...
Return of the Jedi is my favorite one. No, I think... I'd have to think about that. How do you rank TV shows up against movies?
I don't know. We should try, though.
Tomatoes and... I'm sure we will at some point. But anyway, let's... I guess while we're kind of debating whether or not something is fan service, I'm excited to talk about this next one, because it pains me to include this on the list. But it is the Yoda cameo at the end of The Acolyte. And the reason this pains me is because I don't know if this was intended to be fan service or not, because we didn't get season 2. So it's like maybe they had a big role for Yoda in season 2, and this was just foreshadowing that, and it was all going to be naturally led into at the beginning of season 2, in which case I wouldn't call this fan service. It would just be like, the ending. It would just be the cliffhanger that leads into season 2. However, we have to take things as they are. Right now, we're not getting a season 2. And that's just how the show ends, with no purpose to it other than to seemingly appease the fans at this point. So this is kind of like what I guess would be another moment of accidental fan service.
I think this
Luke,
is just
you seem
pure fan service.
Distraught.
Even if there's season 2, they know this is going to be the ending for X amount of time, which is just fan service of showing Yoda. And this is, I think, pure fan service of showing a character that they know that they can show and they know they can use. And I'm sure there's a lot of thought behind it, and the fact of like how he looks, and it's a puppet and yada yada, but it's just pure fan service for this. And I don't think it went over well with anybody, because it was just an eye roll moment.
Eye roll? I don't know about that.
Yeah, because they're overusing a character they know they can use, and it just feels like he was just thrown in much. I mean, like Plagueis too is just. It's just I don't know. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Of course he's in it, but it's like it could have just been its thing, right? Like it could have just been the Acolyte. Could have just been the Acolyte. We don't need to rely on a Yoda moment at the last 2 seconds.
The Plagueis reference is worth talking about on our list, but that gives more point that
Max that should be added
about how season 2 would have recontextualized whether or not.
Let's focus on this, actually, because this is a much better example. Thank you. Keep going. Plagueis.
I don't think Plagueis is a fan service moment, because at the time it was created, and when you're talking about fan service, you do have to take into account intent by the creator. It was set up for season 2 more so than just a throwaway moment to appease fans. Like they were trying to set up a story, which might have been with the Yoda thing, but I don't really know. I don't think Yoda would have had a substantial role in season 2 if and when we get it, because I guess I haven't seen it. No, watch. That was when like Vernestra was confessing setting up Soul to the Jedi or just to Yoda. Was Yoda going to keep that secret too? There's a lot of questions there. I don't think it's fan service. I think that is the end to Vernestra's character arc and or story for the season, more than just well, we don't have to get into all the other cameos at first, because I meant to put all the cameos together, because I don't think cameos are fan service, because it's just people and it could be anyone, so why not make it a cool person for the audience? But this is more than the other cameos that we'll talk about, because this is a story element, both the Plagueis thing and the Yoda. So I don't consider this fan service, and I do like it.
If you don't consider this fan service, you said that you have to take into consideration the intent of the creator. And that goes back to what we were saying about whether something can be an accidental fan service. So if you're saying that intent matters, then theoretically there is no accidental fan service, and that's why you're saying that these don't count.
And it does matter. But yeah, maybe there is no accidental fan service. Because then, like, the same thing with The Last Jedi when Yoda shows up. It's like, that accidental fan service because the fans love Yoda, even though it's a very valid and appropriate character to appear and story necessitated it. Yeah, maybe you're onto something.
Do you consider?
No, I don't. But for the same reason, I don't consider this to be
Okay.
fan service. Like, just because it's Yoda and he is a returning character that everyone loves doesn't mean he's not in the story for a valid reason. So maybe you're right. Maybe fan service can never be.
Matthew, what do you think?
This is tough. Like I said, we're going to step on each other's toes and our own toes going over this back and forth in general. I think characters can be fan service. And like, why show somebody, I think if it has anything to do with the Ki-Adi-Mundi, right? Like, Ki-Adi-Mundi is an interesting thing where why was Ki-Adi-Mundi necessarily there, right? And that feels like fan service to be someone in the
Are
background.
you genuinely asking that? Because I can answer it. Are we going to talk about this?
I mean, just in general, sure, go on. I was just going to say, but overall, like, there's no purpose in the story, right? And so that just feels like a nice little, like...
No, that's completely incorrect.
Really?
There's 100% a reason for it in the story.
Right.
Yes, because the whole thing is this is a Sith person, and Ki-Adi-Mundi and the Phantom Menace
Oh,
said that
yes,
the Sith
yes.
have been extinct for millennia. And so the whole reason of having him there was to connect those two lines of why the Jedi Council believes the things that they do.
I think everything you're
makes
saying,
me
though, is...
so wound up when I see that on the internet, and people are like, why is Ki-Adi-Mundi there? And it's like, for the same fucking reason that everyone was pointing this line out before Ki-Adi-Mundi ever even showed up.
So,
it's to address that line specifically.
Ultimately, he's not there for the story, though. He is there for fan service to connect something that is in the ether.
That's not fan service connecting something. That's
continuity
the story.
is still plot. Yeah.
That's not the plot to anything to do with the Acolyte, though. It's just
The Sith!
It's just
No, it's not the.
yes, but like the actual plot to the Acolyte with the characters that you're watching, it has nothing to do with it. It has us as the viewer trying to connect these pieces and have a better understanding, which to me is a sense of fan service. I don't think it's necessarily fan service in the fact of like the Millennium Falcon or something, but that is just, again, that is filling in the cracks, but it has nothing to do with the actual characters themselves of the Acolyte. Of the time period, yes. Of the show itself, no.
I
I see what you're
I see
saying.
what you're saying
because
also,
it's not
surprisingly.
necessary to show. Yeah, but
I feel like whenever you start talking, whenever I'm disagreeing with you so emphatically, I don't understand your point. This is the second time it's happened tonight. Maybe I'm growing as a person.
Or maybe I'm regressing. I'm just kidding.
doubt. Maybe I'm regressing. Well, regardless of anyone's definition of fan service, if you've been listening this whole episode and disagree wholeheartedly with everything we've considered to be fan service, this next example is the classic over-the-top moment of fan service. I'm confident everyone considers this fan service. It is the moment in Rogue One where they run into Panda Baba and Dr. Evazon on Jeddah. It is
Yeah.
when I was saying how I think the definition of fan service needs to be gratuitous or unnecessary. This is exactly why. It's because that's not an Easter egg, right? Like they literally bumped into them and shared a line of dialogue. Like they weren't just in the background or anything. And there's no reason for them to be there. They didn't make any impact to the plot. Like, that was 100% fan service. And this is the prime example that I could find in Star Wars for that.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I like it. I don't mind
You like
this
it?
one.
I don't like it.
I like it too.
I don't like this.
I do like
I
it.
do like it.
That's
so funny.
I think it's because even though my next example is also Rogue One isn't over the top fan servicey. So I think having like one moment like that is okay, as opposed to like going back to the Millennium Falcon and the Force Awakens and having them like be like, consecutive. So I don't know. It feels like a good break from the tension.
I agree.
Just for break the record clean. Ponda Baba with it's not Pan. That scratched nails on a
Ponda
chalkboard.
Baba.
Not a bear. Honda.
I apologize.
But yeah,
I apologize
fan service,
to Mr.
thumbs
Baba.
down fan service. Makes the universe feel small, unnecessary. Didn't need.
Damn.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree. Continuing on with Rogue One, what about the R2 and C-3PO cameo in the Yavin base?
Thumbs up. Unnecessary,
Really?
don't need it. Loved it.
Do you know why? Are you able to articulate that, or is it just a gut thing?
It makes more sense in universe that they would be there than Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan being Jeddah. Like, it's not just a random encounter with the same people in two different places. You know that the droids are with these people at this time, so it makes sense in universe. Out of universe, they'd been in every movie up until that point, and we had reason to believe that they'd be in all the movies in some degree forever. And so I was excited to see them. I thought they included them just the perfect amount. I don't think there is a single person watching Rogue One that didn't know who R2-D2 were, so it's not like it's leaving anyone out in the cold for an inside joke with a select number of the fans. I think everyone was able to be in on that one, and yeah, I thought it was appropriate. Thumbs up. Matt?
Okay.
I like seeing C-3PO and R2-D2 in Star Wars. Like I am a bit of a sucker for it, right? Same thing with seeing like 3PO in Ahsoka. Very pro it. I just like seeing it. Just makes, I feel like that is a tradition that is I like keeping it alive to see them in every movie basically. So I'm pro it as well.
And being a spokesperson on behalf of Princess Leia is such a great way to keep that character alive after Carrie Fisher's passing.
Oh, so good.
I agree. I don't have anything else to add about this. I just think it's interesting that Luke liked this one, but not the last one. But I feel like your explanation made a lot of sense, so I respect that. What about the Boba Fett introduction in Mandalorian when Mando asks him who he is, and he says, "I'm just a simple man making my way in the galaxy." Is that the line? That's what I wrote, but for some reason that didn't sound like when I say it out loud.
Trying to make.
But an obvious callback to Jango Fett's line from Attack of the Clones. It's another one that was heavily memed. And this one, even though I love that episode and I love that introduction of Boba Fett, I'm not a huge fan of that line because the dialogue, kind of going back to what Luke was saying, I guess, about the 14 parsecs, the dialogue is like, but really, why did you say that though? It's like, is that what you would actually say in that situation? It feels more contrived, where it's like you're just saying that because the writers wanted you to say that, as opposed to feeling more natural. I don't know. Matt, what do you feel about that one?
The line itself, fine. It's hard to say because we've never really heard Boba Fett speak in live action before, right? We've seen Jango, we've seen Boba Fett in animated shows, so to me it's a little hard to put that on, kind of like nail that down, because we've never really seen him, so this is kind of his first speaking line, right? And so I don't know him really as a speaking character. I mean, we've heard him, but Captain Solo Cargo Hold, we've heard those things, so I don't really know him as a character, so I don't know if it really counts necessarily as fan service. I will say, do you think that's even true of a line? Because to me, Boba Fett feels like I mean, he's akin to obviously Django, and it feels very much like the movie Delivery Man with Vince Vaughn, where there's just he has like a million kids because he was just a sperm donor. And I feel like he's a simple man making with the galaxy, but there's also like thousands of people that look just exactly like him still, presumably as well. So I'm hoping. That's an interesting take too. Just thinking about is if they could redirect Boba Fett and just kill that version off and make a cooler version. They could do that, I guess.
I think this is fan service.
Luke.
I don't. Ever since you mentioned intent, the importance behind intent and whether or not it can happen on accident, I've been going back at all the ones that I think are not fans or could not be fan service. Like Obi-Wan saying hello there. Like, yeah, they could have just written that on accident. Same thing. This line does not come about on accident. They clearly lifted this line from the prequel, put it back, and so I think that fact alone makes it fan service categorically. As far as whether I like it, I do, and I can't really explain why. Maybe just because, for better or worse, Boba Fett in this era is just a camp machine. He's campy through and through all the time, and so half the time when he has a piece of dialogue, I'm just watching. I'm like, huh, nice. So I don't know. I would rather we had a different version of Boba Fett, but given the one that we have, which I do like, yeah, I like this moment. And
maybe that's why I don't like it, because it starts off with that moment, and it's like, yeah, that's his reintroduction to the audience as well, and it's just like, okay, that's how this is gonna go.
Similarly, another line that I don't think is, but I'm curious if you guys do, when he's talking to Anne or Oscar Reed, and they ask like, "Oh, why don't you go with us in Imperial Fighter or whatever?" Is let's just say they might recognize, like, oh, hilarious, but that one makes sense in universe, so that's not purely fan service, but it's just the same.
Yeah,
Boba Fett's just campy.
I don't consider that fan service, but that is a good line though. That's I hate how often we keep contradicting ourselves because I like that a lot. It's not fan service. That line's not fan service, but it is a good line because it just kind of points out the fact that he's a clone, and yeah, I don't know. I like that.
I like that too, and I don't think that one's fan service. I do think this one's fan service, but I also like this one.
What about all right, moving on. I said that Ron Howard also likes fan service a lot. So moving to Solo, we have quite a bit surrounding Chewbacca as well. And like all the others, they do vary. So the two examples I pulled from Solo were Chewbacca ripping the arms off of the Pike on Kessel. That was awesome. They've talked about it before. And it's not like if you don't understand that, you're out of the joke, or you feel like you're left out of a joke, because it's like you don't even know that a joke just took place, basically, right?
Rip the arms off a guy. That's sick.
So, yeah, and that's it. But for those of us in the know, we're like, oh, they always alluded to that. We finally got to see it. That's awesome. I like that. I think that's good fan service. Bad fan service, and we've talked about this a lot of times on Pod already, so we don't need to dwell on it too much, is when Han decides to start calling him Chewie because he says that his name is Chewbacca, and he says, oh, that's too long. We got to find something shorter than that, or whatever the line is. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
like
right.
That is like probably the biggest eye roll moment in all of Solo.
I was never bothered
the Solo
by this
moment.
I was never bothered by this moment until you brought it up. After you did, I am bothered by it, and I agree, but I don't know. This would have flown under the radar for me for a long time, I think. Had brought to my attention. I don't like it, but it doesn't bother me as much.
It really bothers me. Matt, what were you saying? Did you have another moment that bothers you more, though?
It's not fan service, but the biggest eye roll moment in Solo is when he gets his last name of Solo.
Yeah.
That's the worst moment that's the second worst moment of all of Star Wars. It's not fan
That's
service.
That's an eye roll moment for
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Chewie thing is worse to me, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Max,
I'm glad
the music
you think
swells.
that. I disagree, but
I don't know, but anyway, there's a couple more examples from Solo, but Luke, I think you wrote these ones down. What's fair and square?
how that's what Han said to Lando. Hey, pal, you lost her to me fair and square. And then in Solo, Han says fair and square like 3 or 4 times at the end. And I keep going back to whether or not it could have been written by accident. And if it was by accident, then Ron Howard is all of a sudden like a 3rd grade bully writing this over and over. Like it's not. It's outside the realm of natural. How many times he says fair and square, and I don't. Oh, maybe I should rewatch that scene. It might just be, but it jumps out at me. Maybe this is my Han deciding to call him Chewie, because every time I see it, I'm like, all right, I get it. He was cheating, and now you're cheating, so you're all a bunch of cheaters.
Interesting. I don't even remember them saying fair and square that much, so I guess I need to go back and rewatch the ending to Solo, because you're right. If it's something that's like said like 3 times in a short period of time, then it's like, as a writer, like you knew what you were doing, right? Because like a decent writer would look at that and be like, yeah, we should definitely mix this up a little bit. But like obviously, if you're repeating something, you're trying to do something. Going back to the intent argument. But boy, this is just not ringing a bell for me.
Same, but also, like, isn't that then his technically like that? It's fan service, I guess, but also isn't that, since it's a prequel, deepening the lore of like that would make sense for him to say? Again, it is fan service, but it is a confusing moment where you're like, well, this is in his vocabulary.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
also
it's brushing right up
service.
against it could happen accidentally / naturally.
Yeah.
I think when I watch it, maybe it's just because I can hear Harrison Ford saying it, Empire Strikes Back. I think it is beyond that into the... I will not die on this. I think it's good fan service either way. I like that story beat, and I like that scene. But I do think it's... Max, you trying to look it up right now?
No, I should have been. I was just trying to think in my head. I was kind of reading ahead and looking at the next couple. Do the next one.
This is a line from Vel. Vel? No, that's the girl from Andor. What was Thandie Newton's character?
Val?
Solo. Is it Vel also?
I don't know. It's not Vel, right?
Val?
I thought it was.
I think it's Val.
Val with an A. Similar. I'm okay with getting that one wrong. Val has a line, right? We ask Bosk or the Zan sisters, talking about bringing on Han and Chewie, and she professionals. I think that's fan service. Tossing names out there like that. She could have just as easily said, so we ask a professional or one of our friends or something, but she gave names that the fans would know to varying degrees. Bosk is very recognizable to most fans. The Zan sisters are from Legends, barely recognizable to some fans. Another instance of fan service with thumbs up. Good fan service. Good line.
I like it. I don't dislike it by any means, but I don't think it is considered fan service. I think that's more of just an Easter egg.
If
I mean, it's not like they went
agree.
out of their way to talk about Bosk or anything like that. And I mean, you could say that with multiple characters too, because they also talk about Aura Singh, because Beckett is the person who killed Aura Singh. But I don't think that's... Well, you see, even that now, like maybe that would be a little more fan servicey, although I don't think that's considered fan service either, just because it's like, well, why do you need to tell this story about Aura Singh? Like, I think you're kind of only doing that just to bring up her name. Whereas, like, asking Bosk or the Zan sisters, like, I feel like in conversation and in universe, like, that dialogue just makes sense. And it's not like, I don't know. I think it's more of an Easter egg. I don't think it is gratuitous enough to be considered fan service.
I think you got these flip-flopped, pal, because the Aura Singh beat is Beckett talking about how he killed her, but it was really just the push. It develops the mythos around Beckett that he's a badass and well-established in the field. The Boskins and sisters doesn't add anything. They just pick names for the sake of the fans to say, hey, I recognize them. So I agree with your logic, but I think the examples that you applied it to are flip-flop.
No, because again, you can get there any number of ways, though. Like you're just trying to build this mythos around him to kill an already established Star Wars character off screen, like Aurra Sing, who is in numerous Clone Wars arcs. You know, you're going out of your way of doing that, which I think is what makes that more gratuitous, in my opinion, than just name dropping Bossk or the Zan sisters.
I disagree. I don't see how you're arriving at.
I think the Aurra Sing thing is still a stretch. I don't think either of these are really fan service.
Really? I think they both qualify.
I agree with Maxwell, but I think it's.
Well, then what do you think
I
about
think these are
the next
closer.
one? If you don't think these are fan service, what do you think about Maul at the end?
Maul's for sure fan service. That's just
Unfortunately. This is the same thing that I said about Yoda at the end of The Acolyte, though, where it's like, look, maybe this made more sense in Solo 2, but like right now, yeah, that's just 100% fan service. I mean, he even goes out of his way to force pull his lightsaber and turn it on just so that you can see the dual blade and everyone be like, oh, okay, yeah, it is Darth Maul. Like, they really beat you over the head with that. Now, Darth Maul is probably one of my favorite Star Wars characters in the entire franchise, so it's like, you know, seeing more of him and getting a little bit more of his story built out and kind of lore established around him during this time period, I'm okay with that. But yeah, I mean, really unnecessary and just is really the only reason why anyone still talks about Solo 2 and wanting to see it is because of that scene, basically.
Bite your tongue. We love Donald Glover and Alden Ehrenreich and Kira, Emilia Clarke. We want all those characters back.
I do. I like all those characters. But you didn't have any sort of like inclination that the story was unfinished in regards to those characters outside of the Maul appearance, because it's like that was the only thing. That was when you see Maul, you're like, oh, they got some other stuff planned in the works, and then
with
it was
Kira.
just like, no, not really.
No, Kira was the propelling force there, made us want to see the story continued. In addition to Maul, of course. I think this is fan service. It's very similar to Plagueis and Yoda, Acolyte. There clearly was a story element that they wanted to continue telling and didn't get a chance to. Yeah. However, the Acolyte, including Plagueis, is super natural for a story about the Sith in this time period. With Yoda, Maul being here was completely out of left field for everyone. No one saw that coming. That was, and you know, Maul Shadow Lord is coming out. I think next. Is that the next show we're gonna get? It's coming soon. I think it's coming.
Probably just because it's animated.
It's coming 2026. And I'm sure we're going to love it, and it's going to recontextualize some of the scene. Hopefully Kira will be in it. And I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and we owe it in part to Ron Howard, Dawson Maul at the end of the story and not getting picked up for a season. So I do think it's fan service because it was unnecessary.
Incredibly
unnecessary. Thumbs up for Darth Maul.
I know exactly. It's like it's a blast to see, and I like it every single time I see it. Like you said, I mean, nothing new here. Incredibly unnecessary, but man, it's like I do want to see that still.
Yeah. Speaking of unnecessary gold, Luke, you want to take the next one too?
Yeah, this one is thumbs down. It's Lando's line. Mining colonies are the worst. Because there's no motivation for the character to say that in universe at this moment, other than he just doesn't like mining colonies.
I like that one.
If you did not, even if you watched Empire Strikes Back, you have to know that like Lando is operating this Tabana gas mining colony. Like he does mention that it's a mining colony, but the story is not about that. That is a brief detail that even if you've seen Empire Strikes Back several times, you don't know that Lando has this story with mining colonies. And him just saying this line, and it's so unnatural because they arrive there and it just cuts awkwardly to Donald Glover as he's looking down and he says it, and they're this bad fan service moments.
I like it. I like it for a couple of reasons. One, it is funny. Two, it's not like it was fan service that you were like kind of expecting, right? Again, not to keep dwelling on it, but to go back to the Millennium Falcon and the Force Awakens, and it's like you kind of see like the objects that we've seen before, and that's like, okay, yeah, we get it. This one, it's like no one was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to mention mining colonies when they go to Kessel. Like, no, of course they're not. Why would they? So it is definitely unnecessary, hence making it fan service. But I think it's hilarious. I really like it, that it's just like the scene just kind of takes like a quick 180 to make that quick joke, then to go back over. To your point, there was another example I gave earlier that said, like, you know, if you're not really in on the joke, you don't really know that you just missed one. This was definitely like a beat you over the head. Like, if you didn't understand the joke, you were looking around in the theater and going, like, what was that about? I don't get it.
You know what
I don't know, man. It's a gut thing. I like it. I thought it was hysterical.
It feels like that moment in Deadpool and Wolverine when Nicepool says, "Oh, I can gently poke at the fourth wall also," and then looks at the camera and says, "The proposal." And then Deadpool's like, "What the fuck was that? That's not what I do." That's exactly how I feel with this scene. Like, you're just doing it completely wrong here, Donald Glover. That is not what we're about. There is fan service and it's usually good. This isn't it.
Don't blame Donald Glover. Okay, this wasn't his fault. But I disagree. I don't know. I like this moment a lot. Matthew, we need another tiebreaker here.
I agree. I don't. Man, that is weird. Oh, well, I mean, fan service. Yes, it is. I like it. I think the writing is snappy for anything Donald Glover says. I'm sorry, Luke.
He delivers the line well, like every other line he has. But
exactly.
It helps. Hear me out. That there's other times in Solo where somebody just says something completely random. And you're just like, what was that about? I don't get that. You know? Because it's like there are moments in Solo where you feel like there was a joke, but then you're just like, no, that was just a weird beat. And the best example I can think of off the top of my head is when they're in the Millennium Falcon and Beckett is shooting the turret and he burns his thumbs. And he's just like, I just burned my thumb really bad or something like that. Like, I forget what the line is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, what? Like, why did you just say that? Like, that's just a weird thing to include. And so I feel like including things like that makes this line feel a little bit more natural, even though I recognize that it's not, and they only did it just to, you know, break the fourth wall and make us laugh in theater.
That's very funny, Max. I feel like that is like a joke that is missing either on us or the entire audience, but I feel like that is somebody finds that very funny. I just don't know who, you know, it's like somebody.
What were the name of the brothers who were making Solo before Ron Howard?
Chris Lord and Phil. It's not, they weren't brothers, but those guys.
I thought they were brothers.
Yeah.
Lord and Miller. I think they find it funny.
Yeah,
I think that was probably something that they did.
Yeah, that
had like 3 more callbacks throughout the film that Ron Howard was like, no, we're not going down this Beckett injured thumb rabbit hole for an entire movie.
He can't pull his guns out because his thumb casts are too bulky.
Right, and they think it's hilarious, and yeah, I don't know.
That sounds funny to me.
There's so many things in Solo where I'm just like, that has to be somebody else.
Last fan service moment in Solo that we're going to talk about. This is motivating me to rewatch Solo because damn, I like this. And this is a good example why, because I don't think this one is fan service. I think it's just an incredible moment. Han shooting first in his standoff with Beckett. Because I didn't even recognize it as fan service at the time when he shot first, because you're so invested in this story and it's the pinnacle of it right here. But I remember when I was watching it, and I was like, oh man, he was about to shoot too. Good thing Han shot first. Oh shit, it's a callback. Like I walked myself into it, and yeah, it's a great callback. I don't think it's fan service. I think it's just good character development, and I love it.
It is. That's the thing. It's good character development, and that's why Han shooting first means so much to a lot of people, because him shooting Greedo first in A New Hope was an important aspect to that character. And so I feel like in Solo, it's just them doing justice to the character. Like, yes, this is how he would act. I agree with you. I don't think this is fan service. I think you probably can call it like a callback or something. I don't know if I would go so far as to say retcon, but good moment. Not fan service. And when I was doing research for this, this scene came up on a lot of lists and is why I wanted to talk about my definition of fan service, because I was like, I don't think that's fan service. Another common scene, and I'm not trying to get us off track here, is the Darth Vader hallway scene in Rogue One.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that fan service? Like, that's just a good scene. Like, just because everyone loves that makes it fan service? Like, no, that's what connected Rogue One with A New Hope. Like, that was a very important scene. Just because the fans like it doesn't make it fan service. And that's kind of how I feel about this scene, too. Great scene. Wouldn't call it fan service, but it's good. I like it.
I think that
Yeah.
fan service.
In what regards? Just because he's a cool character and you see him whoop
You have
ass?
said the phrase overly gratuitous more than once in this podcast episode. If anything that we've ever talked about can be considered overly gratuitous, that Vader hallway scene. There is a way to show
No,
him.
It's a necessary plot point.
You could show him fighting the rebels and not make it overly gratuitous. That was him holding
It's Darth Vader. That is
holding
what
his
he
breath
does.
in the dark and then lighting his lightsaber. It's over.
He was not holding his breath in the dark. That is
Wasn't
editing and lighting choices. That is not, no, story wise, that is a vital plot point that connects Rogue One directly into A New Hope, which is exactly what they were trying to do. Like, gratuitous in that, like, he kills so many rebels in so many cool ways. Like, does it make it not fan service if he just kills one rebel? Like, no. Like, just because there was an appropriate amount of rebels and he killed them all in visibly appealing ways doesn't make it fan service.
The appealing ways.
I think it's very, very good fan service. That is.
I do not think the Vader hallway scene is fan service at all.
I agree.
One of the best scenes in all of Star Wars.
I agree with that as well.
All right, Matthew, you have two to answer to now. How do you feel about Han shooting first and the Darth Vader hallway scene?
Han shooting first, absolutely amazing fan service. Makes a lot of sense. I know me and your dad talk about this a lot. Exactly what you just said was the fact that this is a pinnacle of the character itself, and so that's why I really appreciate it. At least brought it back in. And then for the Darth Vader hallway scene, I don't think it's confusing, I think, a little bit too, because it is fan service in the fact that that's what I want to see, but I don't think it is fan service. Like, in that moment, like, that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, it connects everything. Like I said, it's fan service in the fact that I want to see it, but I don't think that's fair to judge it necessarily as fan service.
I'm not judging it as fan. I agree that it's one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, and I think it's very good fan service, and I love that scene. But I do think, based on the overly gratuitous qualifier, if nothing.
Luke, do you want to take us out? I think the rest were all ones that you added.
Yes. This one I'm heated about. Chewbacca getting a medal in The Rise of Skywalker. I'll let you guys start, because I'd like... Go. Max, what do you think? Is this fan service? Do you like this moment?
Absolutely fan service. Absolutely hate this moment. Chewbacca not getting a medal was already addressed in the comics, and I really hate when that happens. And there's absolutely no reason for it. Like, that they are only doing that, again, because somebody making this movie was chronically online and was just like, oh, hey, it would be really funny if we addressed this because people talk about it. But there was no medal ceremony at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, and Leia just died. Why are we already going through all of her stuff? And it doesn't sit well with me.
Matt?
Yeah, absolutely fan service. It's fine. It's one of those, I think it's by the end of the movie, we don't need more fan service, and it gives it to us anyway. So, I mean, it's not as offensive as some other things in The Rise of Skywalker, but it's not needed whatsoever.
I disagree that it's not. I think it is fan service. It is a valid story point that they handled McClunkily because they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have this great story moment of that is the medal that Han won, that Leia kept, that she died with, and then it fell out of her hand when she died. That is a massively important object for Chewbacca to remember both Han and Leia with.
Wow.
And that
just kind of blew my
giving
mind
myself
a little bit. I
goosebumps
never even
talking
made that
about it.
connection that it would have been Han.
It's
Yeah,
a great
that's good.
story beat. It's not the medal that they were going to give Chewbacca, and they just dropped it on the way up the stairs on Yavin 30 years ago. It is that has the potential to be an incredible story beat. Then they present it in such a way that Maz is just winking at the camera until she has an aneurysm and says, "Oh, this is for you." And then it's in the middle of this huge ceremony. And so I get why people don't like it, but just open your mind a little bit and see what's really going on here. That is a great moment.
I like it a lot more after hearing you explain that. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
That
was good, Luke.
The next time I rewatch The Rise of Skywalker, I will view that scene through a different lens. I liked it a lot more now.
Good. Huh. I very rarely just change everyone's mind when I get heated about something. This is a very unique feeling. I don't know what to do with the rest of this energy.
Connected to me. For some reason, I was just like, yeah, Leia has a medal. But then now that this is the first time I'm ever thinking about it. She doesn't have a medal. She gave it to Han. That's Han's medal. Oh, man.
Yeah. Good story beat. It's still fan service because of the way they present it. Because they were trying to do two things at once, and they kind of failed in both then. But still, I mean, this is like a textbook example of something dumb happening in Star Wars, and then someone writing a book or a comic about it, making it super duper cool. Like R2D2 and C3PO being the wedding gifts, Attack of the Clones. Like, you can understand that given just the movies, but it's so vague that you do need to be it needs to be explained further.
Yeah.
The first time you explained that to me, that also knocked my socks off.
All right, our last fan service moment that I'm curious if it's fan service because I think it is recreating the A New Hope intro scene in Skeleton. Like what I keep going back to, this didn't happen by accident. You didn't accidentally make it the exact same as the A New Hope intro. So the intent was purposeful to whatever, ping the dopamine receptors in all of our little dorky brains, and it worked. I think this is a thumbs up moment. What do you guys think?
I don't think so. I know you love this intro a lot, and it is really good, but I don't think so many people saw that and immediately went, oh my gosh, they're just remaking A New Hope, but better. I think
really
to a lot of people, it was just like, yeah, this is just what happens in Star Wars. Like it just felt like it was more inspired by Star Wars than it was trying to recall something specific.
Okay.
I agree with Max as well.
Really? We watched it together. All three of us were like, immediately like, "Oh shit, this is A New Hope."
It is, and it's great. I'm not talking bad about the moment at all. I love that scene. It's probably one of the best scenes in Skeleton Crew because it was also, we need to talk about Skeleton Crew. That was really like a weird way to start that show tonally, but whatever. It's great. That is a great scene. When you analyze it, yes, very, very, very reminiscent of A New Hope, but I don't think it crosses over into fan service.
You think it's possible that they did it by accident?
No, I think they were influenced by Star Wars. I think they wanted to show pirates boarding a ship, and they were like, well, how does this happen? Like, what does it look like? Mm-hmm. And you don't really need to go much farther than A New Hope to figure that out.
All right. I disagree. I think it's good fan service. Oscillating. So I'll move on. The last section are all cameos that, just broad strokes. Are cameos fan service? It's going to be someone. Like, you've got to put people in this movie, so why not make it someone that the fans will perk their eyes up at? They're all about the same, so I'm just going to run through them all real quick. John Williams cameo in The Rise of Skywalker, in the cantina on Kijimi. The Lucas family, George Lucas and his daughters, multiple daughters, maybe just one daughter. They were guests at the opera, walking up or down the stairs when Anakin enters that scene. And Anthony Daniels and Ahmed Best in Outrider Club in Attack of the Clones. All of these scenes need people, extras, so why not make them all cameos? I think this is fan service, but it's like a different subcategory because
I think these are Easter eggs. Most of them.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, I think those are all Easter eggs.
Yeah. Yes, those are all Easter eggs. I think some of there could be like moments where there's fan service, like But I can't think of anything. These are all just Easter eggs.
I think the John Williams can be considered fan service. I think the rest are Easter eggs because the other ones too. It's like you don't even notice it unless you watch somebody overanalyze it later.
Yeah.
The John Williams one, they
linked.
they like actually cut to and he makes like a face. I think
That's fair.
I think that intentionally pointing out so strongly helps it cross over into fan service. There's a bunch of other stuff in that shot too, like in the background. There's like artifacts from all the other movies that he's like written scores for and stuff like that.
Jaws.
Like that, those are Easter eggs. But I think John Williams can be considered fan service. George Lucas, Anthony Daniels, Ahmed Best, and other roles. I think those are just Easter eggs.
You guys ever try to talk about semantics with someone in the world and they're actually not interested in having that conversation with you?
Yes, it's terrible.
I recently had that
This
problem.
is why we need this. This is
This is
therapeutic.
great. I agree with everything you said, Max. Yes, the camera lingers a little bit too long for it to be an Easter egg, and it moves into fan service cameo, which is different based on, I guess, duration of screen time. And that's the perfect example of the dingers behind him are Easter.
Yeah.
Good analysis. All right, does anyone have any others off the top of their head that we not talk about that you would like to?
Yeah, I didn't add it to the list because I actually keep going back and forth on it. But the Rise of Skywalker, Emperor Palpatine talking about the dark side being a pathway to which many consider to be unnatural.
Oh, you know
I
that
just
line
messed
better.
That line up.
Dark side of the
Yeah,
Force
but
pathway to many abilities consider to.
thank you. But that was another common one that was on a bunch of lists for fan service. And on one hand, it does seem like obvious fan service, but the more I think about it, I feel like I convince myself out of it every time because I'm like, it is kind of like a necessary line in that they needed to explain his return somehow, and they weren't about to go into the nitty gritty of how he survived everything, right? So it's like, okay, keep it vague, and this helps connect the finale of the Skywalker saga to the prequels, which is something that was kind of woefully missing in the sequels, was a more direct connection to the prequels. So to me, it's like, it was kind of necessary. It kind of felt like low-hanging fruit, like the easiest and cheapest way that they can write themselves out of it is just by recalling this line. But going back to the Boba Fett line, I'm just a simple man, it's not a line that you accidentally come across. Like, it is obviously intentional. It was certainly included as a callback, but works out well. I don't know. I go back and forth on it. What do you guys think?
Matt, I'll let you go.
I
Unless
don't
you have
think
no
it's fan
thoughts.
service. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts. I don't think it.
You
I don't
don't,
think
or
that
you
is
do?
fan
Sorry.
service. I don't.
I agree. It's the plot. It's a valid story beat that you address in some way. Are there other ways they could have addressed it that maybe would have been more satisfying? Probably. But given what we got, it's that is the plot of the movie, and the plot of the movie is not just fan service. There is enough reasonability. It's reasonable enough that Palpatine could have resurrected through essence transfer or whatever the actual lore lays it out as, and it's reasonable that they wouldn't want to get into that in the movie, and so just put that line. That line fits very naturally here. Like, obviously they didn't write it by accident, but they could have. Like, that's what he was trying to say. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. What he's doing is certainly unnatural, and he certainly used the dark side to get there, and he's lecturing Kylo Ren all at the same time. So it fits. I don't think it's fan service, but I don't think it's a very good moment.
I don't think it's a terrible moment. I don't know. I don't hate it. But there's a gut level to these things too. And my gut is like, oh, he said the line. You know what I mean? Like, it's like on its surface, I'm like, yes, that's fan service. But I feel like the more we think about it, it's like, well, maybe not. But I don't know. I'm still not really convinced one way or another.
Matt, do you have any other fan theories that you would like to bring to the table before we wrap up for the evening?
I got nothing else. We've talked about a lot of them, honestly. I think people could say Rogue One in general is fan service, but no, I don't have anything at all to add.
I do not either. Brings us to our Force for Thought, which I am presenting today. I'm excited about this because earlier today I was watching Revenge of the Sith, and we happen to be recording tonight. I watch Star Wars most days. I rarely get my Force for Thought and get to talk about it in the same day. So I'm really excited because Revenge of the Sith, the latter half, Anakin is betraying the Jedi and everything he knows and loves in order to save Padme from certain death. And in his mind, the way he sees this all panning out, he's going to kill all the Jedi, attain this great power that will save his wife from dying, and his family will live happily ever after. Is there a point in what he thinks is going to happen where he saves Padme's life and their kids are growing up and he says, hey, by the way, you have to call me Darth Vader now?
That's really funny.
That is funny.
No. I think
you would have been allowed to call him
a lot
Anakin?
of the fine print.
Oof,
He's Darth
funny.
Vader.
I don't know. He is.
Henceforth, you shall be
She
known
calls
as...
him Anakin.
Yes.
She calls him Anakin after that.
Yes, she does.
And he doesn't correct her.
Correct. Yes. I think his plan is to ease her into it. He's also denying killing younglings. Like, you can't go all in at first. I think in his mind...
What is his plan? Is he just going to keep it all a secret from her? And he was just going to be like, yeah, I escaped the Jedi Order. That was a close one. This crazy guy named Darth Vader started killing everyone.
I don't know, because he also says that he's more powerful than the Emperor and he can overthrow him. So maybe in his mind, once he overthrows the Emperor, he will renounce the Darth Vader title and go back to Anakin. But I don't know.
But I don't think a lot of that was premeditated, though. I think a lot of it is just immediately being consumed by the dark side and having that cloud his judgment and everything else. So it's hard to... It's kind of funny to theorize, I guess, how he saw that happening, going down. But yeah, that is interesting. I mean, Darth Sidious was Darth Sidious, and people still called him Palpatine, but he was also in hiding. I guess Vader would still be too. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe Darth Vader, like Darth Sidious, or Darth Tyrannus, because he wasn't very publicly killing all of the Jedi and all of the Separatists. Like, everyone he encountered was killed until they weren't, and then his whole plan went to shit. Maybe that was his plan. that'll be my fan.
That's your headcanon?
Going forward. Because that's what Count Dooku did. That's what Chief Palpatine did.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's just what you do.
Yeah.
You can't tell
That's
your
a
wife
lot to
to
try
call
to
you
hide,
Darth
though.
Vader.
Dooku was hiding the fact that he killed Yaddle. Anakin's trying to hide the fact that he just wiped out an entire temple of younglings.
Yeah, definitely takes a
Both
lot more
not great
focus.
guys.
Interesting. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while,
Woof.
honestly. I'm trying to get into that mindset.
Maybe
but anyway,
don't get
let us know what you think.
the mindset too much.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have young kids and lightsabers in your house.
I wonder if I can get away with this. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought Darth Vader / Anakin was thinking at the time, and let us know what you think of our fan service moments, if there was any moments that we missed out on, or if you disagree with any of our definitions, categorizations, or opinions on them. You can reach out to us across social media and at forceforthought@gmail.com.
Hope you enjoyed the cozy episode. See you, Sammy.